realize that many of us have never been locked up physically. But all of us have been locked up emotionally. All of us have been locked up by a hurt, a habit, or a hang-up in some area of our lives. And maybe we're not physically in a prison, but we are carrying around an inner prison. An inner prison of hurt. An inner prison of disappointment. An inner prison of rejection or fear, or maybe divorce, or maybe you're in your marriage and there's resentment in your marriage because this is not really what you signed up for. Maybe an inner prison because, when you were growing up, someone did something to you or said something to you, or maybe even God awful, put their hands on you in a wrong way. And you've been carrying around that pain for years. And it morphs now into anger. It morphs now into I don't do people. It morphs now into insecurity or rejection or fear or depression or discouragement or maybe even suicidal thoughts. Inner prisons. What I learned from Steve is worship leaders can have inner prisons. I was a pastor of a church, a growing church, a thriving church. Me and Irene leading a movement in the city of Baltimore. God's exploding our church, but our marriage was imploding. I would often pray to God in a green room before I go out to preach, like, God, this message that I'm gonna preach, please let this come to my house. And because I wasn't pastoring at home, and because we were leaders who had inner prisons, my wife ended up being pastored by alcohol. And that one drink ended up being too many, and 1,000 was not enough. The fights were awful. I'd have to preach on a Sunday and on a Saturday, but we get into such bad fights. I'm cursing my wife out, calling her everything outside of, and then bringing God's word to the people. A pastor with an inner prison. And you know what became my medication? You know what I became addicted to? This. The pulpit, the stage, the audience. I started seeking the approval of everyone else except for my own family. I was a pastor with a pornography issue. And because I was growing an amazing kids ministry at church, no one knew that I had no relationship with my own kids. Inner prison. Inner prison. And some of y'all like, oh my God, he's telling the truth. I can't believe he's saying all that. You know why? Because I have discovered that it is impossible to keep up with who you pretend to be. And if you were to look down your row, you're not the only one in a prison. Just no one wants to talk about it. Everyone wants to be okay. I have come to discover that it's okay not to be okay. But it's not okay to stay not okay. And today could be the day that you get delivered from your inner prison, that the greatest prison break you ever experience is the one in your soul today. Because that's where I am. You see, for me, during that season, because of the emotional weight, I ended up gaining physical weight. I was 420 pounds, y'all. That was a whole lot of me. And I remember one Easter, in the second year of our church, we had 3,000 people show up. 555 people got saved, and nobody knew that me and my wife hadn't seen each other all week because we fought so bad. I went and stayed in a hotel, and the first time I saw her that Easter in 2012 was on the front row, and I just kind of waved at her. And I went back in the green room.